The defective bearing felt wrong in my hands. Surface tolerance was off by 0.003 inches. Not much to most people, but at highway speeds, that tolerance gap becomes a death sentence. My name is Cody Wells. I'm 54 years old, and I was holding the evidence that would get me fired in about 20 minutes. I rotated my wedding ring, Riley's ring, really checking the specs one more time. 25 years I'd been at Sterling Manufacturing, and I'd never let a part this shoddy reach production. The bearing housing showed stress fractures that any first-year machinist could spot. Mason Pierce had approved it anyway. Riley would have understood why I couldn't sign off on this garbage. She was driving home from her sister's place 3 years ago when the brake assembly failed on I-75. Competitor's part met all the industry standards right up until it didn't. State police said she never had a chance to react. One minute, she's singing along to the radio. Next minute, she's gone because some engineer somewhere decided good enough was actually good enough. The conference room buzzed with pre-meeting chatter. Ford's procurement team had driven up from Dearborn for the contract signing. $45 million over 4 years. Biggest deal in Sterling Manufacturing's history. I sat there rotating Riley's ring, knowing what I had to say would crash the whole thing. Wells, you ready to make history today? Hunter Pierce slapped my shoulder as he passed. Good man, Hunter. Built this company from nothing after his dad died. Respected the craft, understood quality. His son Mason was different. MBA from Wharton, spreadsheet mentality. Thought manufacturing was just numbers on a screen. Bryce Foster from Ford stood at the head of the table, contract folders stacked neat beside him. Professional guy reminded me of myself 20 years back. His quality assurance team flanked him, all business. These weren't desk jockeys. They knew what failed parts looked like in the real world. Gentlemen, we're ready to finalize this partnership, Foster said, settling into his chair. Sterling Manufacturing has consistently delivered quality components for our F-150 line. This expansion represents significant growth for both organizations. Mason beamed, probably already spending his bonus. Kid had been gunning for this deal for months, cutting corners wherever he could to boost margins. That's how we ended up with these defective bearings in the first place. Before we sign, I said, standing up, we need to address the bearing specifications on assemblies 4,400 through 4,600. The room went quiet. Mason's face went from pleased to pissed in about 2 seconds. Cody, we discussed this. The parts meet minimum requirements. Minimum isn't the standard we built this company on. I set the defective bearing on the conference table. Metal against wood. That solid click, that means business. This housing shows microfractures. Stress analysis indicates failure probability at sustained highway speeds. Foster picked up the bearing, ran his fingers along the surface. Guy knew his stuff. His expression shifted as he felt the irregularities. You can't fool someone who spent 30 years in automotive manufacturing. How many units are we talking about? Foster asked. Approximately 15,000 in the initial production run, I replied. Mason stepped forward. Cody, you're out of line. These components passed our quality assurance review. I never signed off on QA for this batch because you're being unreasonably rigid about tolerances that exceed industry standards. There it was, industry standards. Same phrase the insurance adjuster used when they explained why Riley's accident wasn't the manufacturer's fault. Same phrase the lawyer threw around when we tried to hold someone accountable. Industry standards don't mean much when you're picking out a headstone. Industry standards killed my wife, I said, voice steady as a machining gauge. I won't put my signature on parts that might kill someone else's. Silence settled over the room. You could hear the factory floor humming below us, machines running the way they should, building things that last. Foster set the bearing down, studying the stress patterns with the attention they deserved. Mr. Wells makes valid points about quality consistency, Foster said. Ford's reputation depends on component reliability. We can't afford field failures, especially in safety-critical applications. Mason's jaw tightened. Cody, you're putting this entire contract at risk over perfectionist standards that aren't cost-effective. Quality is always cost-effective in the long term, not when it prices us out of competitive bidding. Mason turned to his father. Dad, we need to make this deal happen. Cody's being inflexible. Hunter looked between his son and me. 25 years of loyalty, of building this company's reputation one perfect part at a time, of training his people, fixing his problems, making his quarterly numbers while maintaining the standards that kept Sterling Manufacturing's name clean. In the end, blood runs thicker than precision specs. Cody, Hunter said quietly, maybe you should take some time to reconsider your position. My position is that defective parts don't leave this facility with Sterling Manufacturing's name on them. Then maybe it's time for you to leave this facility, Mason said. Effective immediately, the words hit like a punch press malfunction. Sudden, final, irreversible. In the silence that followed, I could hear everything. The air conditioning cycling, papers rustling, someone's coffee mug hitting the table. Foster stood up, closing his contract folder. Gentleman Ford requires key personnel continuity for major supply contracts. Mr. Wells was specifically named in our quality assurance requirements. We have other qualified engineers, Mason insisted, but his voice had lost some of its authority. None with Mr. Wells's 25 years of experience with our specifications. Foster looked at me directly. Cody, what's your assessment of product readiness? I rotated Riley's ring. Moment of truth. The room was waiting and I could feel the weight of 25 years pressing down on me. But I could also feel Riley's presence reminding me why quality matters. Product line requires complete quality review before any units ship. Current batch fails reliability standards for highway applications. Foster nodded to his team. We'll need to postpone contract execution pending quality resolution. You can't walk away, Mason protested. We have binding preliminary agreements. Section 7 of those agreements includes personnel stability clauses. One of Foster's lawyers said, flipping through his copy, key personnel termination triggers automatic review periods. I'd written that clause myself 3 years ago, standard protection for critical staff. Learned it the hard way from a competitor who lost a major contract when their lead engineer quit mid-project. Now it was the kill switch that would shut down Mason's big moment. Foster extended his hand to me. Cody, when you land somewhere new, give me a call. Engineers with your integrity are getting harder to find in this business. Appreciate that, Director Foster. You've got my number. With that, Ford packed up and walked out. Silence filled the conference room like pressure building in a hydraulic line. You could cut the tension with a plasma torch. Pack your things, Mason said, not looking at me. I nodded once, picked up my toolbox from under the conference table, and headed for the elevator. 25 years of building something, gone in 20 minutes. But as those elevator doors closed, part of me felt lighter somehow. No more fighting battles over every single quality standard. No more watching profit margins override safety specs. The factory floor buzzed as I walked through it one last time. Tanner Brooks looked up from his lathe, confusion on his face. Word travels fast in a plant this size. Mr. Wells, what's going on? Change of management philosophy. Tanner, keep building them right, no matter what anyone tells you. He nodded, understanding more than he probably should have. Good machinist, Tanner. Trained him myself when he started here 8 years ago. Kid knew the difference between right and close enough. At home, I poured 3 fingers of Jack Daniels and sat on my back porch for the first time in months. Actually watched the sun go down instead of just hearing about it from other people. My phone started buzzing around 6 p.m. with a market alert. Sterling Manufacturing stock down 12% over 3 days on rumors about the Ford contract collapse. The calls started that same evening. Colleagues wanting the inside story, reporters sniffing around for drama, headhunters trying to place me somewhere else. I let them all go to voicemail. Wasn't ready to talk about it yet. Instead, I worked in my garage. Had a '67 Mustang I'd bought 3 years ago, right after Riley's funeral. Never had time to touch it. But now time was all I had. Started with the engine block, checking every measurement twice, cleaning every surface until it was perfect. No shortcuts, no good enough. The way things should be built. You sound different. My brother Logan said when I finally called him back a week later. Different how? Relaxed? I haven't heard you this calm in years. Getting fired might be the best thing that happened to you. Maybe, I admitted, running my hand along the Mustang's freshly cleaned pistons, but 25 years, Logan built that place from a 2-bay shop into a real operation. And they let some MBA kid throw it all away because I wouldn't compromise. What did they really build for you, though? He asked. You gave them everything. First time that kid wanted to flex his authority, they chose him over you. Logan wasn't wrong. I'd worked weekends, missed vacations, stayed late to fix problems that weren't even mine, and when push came to shove, 25 years of loyalty bought me exactly nothing. The local paper ran a story about the Ford contract falling through. Didn't mention my name, but anyone in the industry could read between the lines. Sterling Manufacturing stock kept sliding. Two other major clients started asking questions about quality control procedures. 2 weeks after my firing, Hunter finally managed to get through to me. "Cody, we need to talk. The board wants you back. This situation is worse than we projected." I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. Man sounded like he'd been running on coffee and desperation for days. "Ford won't come back to the table without quality guarantees that only you can provide. We've had 3 other clients request detailed quality audits. Mason's been reassigned to business development. What are the terms? Name them." That got my attention. Hunter Pierce didn't do blank checks, not even for his own son. The situation must be worse than the stock price indicated. "I'll think about it," I said and hung up. That night I couldn't sleep. What did I actually want? My job back. Public vindication, revenge, all of the above, honestly. But there was something else brewing in the back of my mind. An idea that had been forming while I worked on the Mustang. The precision required for a proper engine rebuild wasn't that different from what I'd been doing for Sterling Manufacturing for 25 years. Same attention to detail, same zero-tolerance approach to defects, but without corporate bureaucracy getting in the way. By morning, I had a plan, not just for going back to Sterling Manufacturing, but for something bigger. Something that would prove quality craftsmanship still had value in a world obsessed with cutting corners. I called Hunter back. "I'll meet with the board tomorrow." Not next week, not when it's convenient, tomorrow, and I'm bringing non-negotiable terms. 4 hours later, I walked into the Sterling Manufacturing boardroom wearing the same work clothes I'd been fired in. Dickies pants, company polo shirt, steel-toed boots. The message wasn't subtle, but subtlety hadn't protected my career the first time around. The board members stood when I entered, mix of desperation and guilt written all over their faces. Mason was conspicuously absent, which told me everything I needed to know about how bad things had gotten. "Thank you for coming, Cody," the chairman said. "We appreciate your willingness to discuss the situation." "Let's skip the handshake protocol," I replied, staying on my feet. "Since I left, your stock has dropped 12%. 3 major clients have initiated quality reviews. Ford's contract is dead in the water. You need my help." Uncomfortable shifting around the table. Some cleared their throats, others studied their paperwork like it held the secrets of the universe. "We made a critical error," the chairman admitted. "What would it take for you to return?" I opened my briefcase and withdrew a folder. 25 years of experience had taught me to come prepared for moments like this. "These terms are non-negotiable." I placed it in front of him, watching as he opened it, and his eyebrows shot up toward his hairline. He passed the folder to Hunter, whose face went white as he read through my demands. The room got quiet enough to hear the ventilation system cycling. "This is extensive," Hunter said finally. "Yes. Triple my previous salary, board membership with voting rights, complete authority over manufacturing operations and quality control. Also, this clause about intellectual property development. Any new technology I develop while employed here remains 70% my personal property. Company gets 30% ownership, but I retain controlling interest and licensing rights. That's highly unusual," one board member objected. "So is firing your most senior engineer over quality ethics on the day of a $45 million contract signing," I replied. "Consider it insurance against future management failures." They exchanged looks, that silent communication that happens when people realize they're backed into a corner. The kind of communication that happens when your options have narrowed down to bad and worse. Finally, the chairman pushed the contract back to me, his signature fresh on the page, approved. One by one, the other board members signed. Hunter was last, his pen hovering for a moment before he added his name. Guy looked like he'd aged 5 years in 2 weeks. "When can you start?" the chairman asked. "System restart begins now," I said, tucking the signed contract into my briefcase. "I'll be in my office in 20 minutes, initializing recovery protocols. I suggest you all prepare for some demanding months ahead." As I turned to leave, Hunter called after me. "What about Mason?" I paused at the door. "What about him?" "He's still with the company, junior position in product development." "Will that be a problem?" I thought about Riley, about quality standards, about 25 years of building something worth building. "Not for me," I said. That evening I called Foster at Ford. The conversation was long and difficult, exactly what I'd expected. As I'd predicted during our boardroom discussion, he was reluctant to re-engage. "Your company showed its true priorities, Cody. Why would I trust them again?" "You wouldn't be trusting them," I replied, settling into my chair with a fresh cup of coffee. You'd be trusting me, and I now have the authority to guarantee what I promise. We talked for 2 hours. Foster had integrity, but he also had shareholders and quarterly reports to worry about. In the end, he agreed to consider a revised proposal with significantly less favorable terms for Sterling Manufacturing, but better quality guarantees than the original contract. The new deal would be worth $38 million over 4 years instead of the original $45 million and $15% haircut for the company, but it was something. More importantly, it was something built on the right foundation. Over the next few weeks, I worked systematically to repair what could be salvaged. The bearing production line required complete overhaul. I scrapped the entire batch of 15,000 defective units, ate the cost, and started over with proper materials and tolerances. Several departments needed restructuring. Some positions were eliminated, mostly middle management types who'd been more focused on pleasing Mason than maintaining standards. None of them were people who'd been on the factory floor when I walked out with my toolbox. I occasionally saw Mason in the hallways. He always found somewhere else to look, which was fine by me. His presence in the building was irrelevant to my operations, like a machine that's been disconnected from the main power supply. But an idea had been processing in the back of my mind since my first day back. That unusual intellectual property clause in my contract hadn't been random. I had a bigger plan, one that would require patience and strategic development. It started with a conversation with Madison Carter, our head of product development. Madison was solid. One of the few engineers who'd worked her way up from the floor instead of coming straight out of college with a head full of theories and no practical experience. I need a side project, I told her over coffee in the break room one morning. Something small, experimental. Can your team provide support? Madison looked interested but cautious. Smart woman, what kind of project? I've been analyzing precision manufacturing needs, specifically custom automotive components. High-end restoration market, racing applications, stuff that requires tolerances beyond what mass production can justify. She raised an eyebrow. That's outside our current market segment. Exactly, I agreed, but it's a sector with significant unmet demand. My contract allows for exploration of new technology development, and this fits within those parameters. Why not just expand Sterling Manufacturing into this market directly? Because different markets have different quality requirements, I explained. Restoration and racing customers want absolute precision, not cost-effective approximations. They're willing to pay premium prices for premium quality. Mass production customers want good enough at the lowest possible price. Within days, Madison had assembled a small team of our best people. We worked evenings and weekends, conducting market research, developing prototypes, testing precision manufacturing techniques that went far beyond anything Sterling Manufacturing had ever attempted. The work was exactly what had drawn me to manufacturing in the first place. Clean sheet engineering, premium materials, zero compromises. Every component built to tolerances that would make a Swiss watchmaker proud. I was particularly interested in components that required what I called Swiss precision, tolerances so tight that most shops wouldn't even bid on the work. Racing suspension components, custom engine parts for classic car restorations, specialty transmission gears. The kind of work that separated real craftsmen from parts suppliers. The team embraced the challenge enthusiastically. These were engineers and machinists who'd gotten into manufacturing because they loved building things that worked perfectly. Corporate cost-cutting had sucked the joy out of their daily work. But this project reminded them why they'd chosen this profession in the first place. Meanwhile, I continued rebuilding client relationships and slowly reconstructing a viable partnership with Foster's procurement office. Sterling Manufacturing was stabilizing, but the company had lost its edge. We were surviving, not thriving. 6 months after my return, our precision components project evolved from concept to functional business. We had prototypes that performed beyond specification, a manufacturing process that could deliver consistent quality, and a growing list of potential clients who were willing to pay premium prices for premium work. The day before our planned launch, I called a company-wide meeting. Everyone attended, curious about the unusual assembly. As I walked to the front of the conference room, I noticed Mason sitting in the back row, trying to blend into the background like he had for the past 6 months. "Thank you all for coming," I began. "Today marks an important milestone not just for Sterling Manufacturing, but for the entire precision manufacturing industry." I clicked to display the first slide. Clean, professional logo. Apex Precision Manufacturing. For the past 6 months, a specialized team has been developing an innovative project, one that represents not just a new product line, but a completely different approach to manufacturing excellence. Murmurs swept through the room as I clicked to the next slide, showing component specifications that made several engineers sit up straighter. Apex Precision Manufacturing isn't just another parts supplier. We build components that meet tolerances most shops consider impossible. Racing components, restoration parts, custom applications where failure isn't an option. I walked toward the center of the room, gesturing toward the technical specifications on screen. Take this suspension component we completed last week. Standard automotive tolerance would be plus or minus 0.0110 inches. We delivered it at plus or minus 0.0005 inches. That's aircraft-grade precision for automotive applications. I demonstrated several components we developed, showing how each one pushed the boundaries of what traditional manufacturing considered achievable. No compromises, no good enough, no cutting corners to meet price points. Hunter shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Several board members exchanged glances. In the back, Mason stared with recognition dawning on his face. You might wonder why a traditional automotive supplier is launching a precision manufacturing division. I continued. The answer is simple. We identified a market need and created a solution that serves it properly. Exactly what manufacturing should do. I advanced to the next slide, showing revenue projections that made several executives lean forward. Market research indicates significant demand for ultra-precision components. We've secured manufacturing partnerships, built distribution channels, and developed a client base that values quality over cost reduction. I paused, meeting Mason's eyes across the room. Every Apex Precision component includes documentation explaining our development philosophy. How one arbitrary decision prioritizing cost savings over safety nearly destroyed a successful company and derailed a $45 million contract. The room went dead silent. No one looked at Mason, but everyone understood the reference. That incident revealed something crucial. When engineering competence gets subordinated to financial pressures, everybody loses. Apex Precision Manufacturing offers a practical alternative to that problem. I clicked to the final slide, showing our launch timeline. Thanks to the intellectual property development clause in my employment contract, Apex Precision operates as an independent entity. Sterling Manufacturing retains 30% ownership, providing ongoing revenue without operational responsibility. Hunter stood up. Cody, this is the first I'm hearing about launching next week. The board should have reviewed timing and market strategy. The board approved my contract, which grants me autonomy over intellectual property development, I replied smoothly. The timing is optimized for current market conditions. Your support is welcome but not required. I turned back to the audience. This isn't just about precision manufacturing. It's about recognizing that true engineering excellence comes from competence, innovation, and integrity, not from cost-cutting or political positioning. With that, I thanked everyone and ended the meeting, ignoring the buzz of conversation that erupted behind me. The launch exceeded every projection we'd made. Press coverage focused on our precision capabilities, but also highlighted the story behind our founding. Fired for ethics. How one engineer turned termination into innovation. Read one trade magazine headline. Orders came in faster than we could handle them. Racing teams, restoration shops, custom builders. They wanted components built right, not just built cheap. We had to establish waiting lists within the first month. 2 weeks after launch, our servers crashed when Foster gave an interview to Automotive News mentioning Apex Precision. Best components I've seen in 30 years, he told the reporter. I appreciate supporting a company that puts integrity first. The interview went viral in automotive circles. Orders tripled overnight. 6 months after launch, Apex Precision had become more than successful. We'd become the standard that other precision manufacturers measured themselves against. Revenue was approaching 15% of Sterling Manufacturing's annual income, and we were just getting started. On the 1-year anniversary of my firing, Mason approached me for the first time since that day. The arrogance that had defined him a year ago had been systematically ground away by 12 months of watching consequences compound into public failure. The way you built this, he said quietly, it's impressive. Quality work tends to be, I replied. He nodded, swallowing hard. I've been thinking about what you said, about building things instead of just managing numbers. Would you consider teaching me? Not as a favor, just as a professional development opportunity. I studied him. The kid who'd fired me for refusing to compromise had spent a year learning what compromise actually cost. Sometimes the most powerful lessons come from watching your own mistakes play out in real time. Applications for our technical apprenticeship program open next month, I said, handing him my business card. It's demanding work. No shortcuts, no special treatment. I understand, he said. I need to learn how to build things that last. 6 months later, Mason earned his way into the apprenticeship program, not because of his last name, but because his application demonstrated genuine understanding of what he'd done wrong and what he needed to learn. Apex Precision continued growing. What began as a response to workplace injustice evolved into proof that excellence and profitability could coexist when you serve the right market the right way. The revenge, if you want to call it that, wasn't in Mason's demotion or Sterling Manufacturing's struggles. It was in transforming a moment designed to diminish me into a movement that elevated manufacturing standards across the industry. Sometimes the most devastating response to someone trying to delete you from the system is building a better system entirely. And that system can either exclude people or give them chances to prove they've learned from their mistakes. Your choice how you engineer it. Real power isn't in tearing down the people who wronged you. It's in building something so solid, they have no choice but to respect what you've created.